Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dave Gasper. Lots to get to here on a Wednesday show. The Brewers have a Wednesday matinee today as they finish off against the Boston Red Sox. We're going to take a look down on the farm. One of the prospects off to a fantastic start this season. We're also going to look at some injury notes that have come out as well, some updates on some of the injured Brewers players. But we're going to start with looking back at last night's game, and Jacob Misiorowski absolutely carving through 5 1/3, struck out 10, scattering just 2 hits, 2 lowly singles, 1 walk, and then the wheels fell off. Then Miz ran out of gas, and it was quite obvious. He ran out of gas pretty quickly there after that last strikeout of Roman Anthony. Walk on 4 pitches, walk on 4 pitches, walk on 5 pitches, and next thing you know, he's done. It certainly was a disappointing end to what was a really dominant and fantastic night for Miz. A fantastic pitcher's duel between Miz and Crochet, which is really what we expected. I mean, those are 2 of the most electric arms in all of Major League Baseball. Those 2 going at it, striking out everybody that they could see. No one was getting any sort of decent contact all night long. And then Miz just ran into some trouble there. The pitch count getting up there into the 90s. And then, he lost command. The mechanics kind of went a little bit out of sync. You could see William Contreras trying to correct him. It seemed like he was pulling the ball across rather than throwing like normal. And it ended up costing him. He loads the bases with 1 out in the 6th. DL Hall comes in, hangs a changeup, gets banged to the left field for a double, and a couple of runs score, and the Red Sox take the lead, and they did not give it up after that. The Brewers did respond with a pair of runs immediately after, but they couldn't quite get the tying run across, and it ended up being a 3-2 loss. But for Miz, again, 5 1/3, 2 hits, 3 runs, 4 walks. All 3 of those walks that he gave up all ended up coming around to score in that 6th inning, but 10 strikeouts. So the line doesn't look as dominant as it was for the majority of the game, but still a really strong outing overall for Misiorowski, and it's certainly, and Pat Murphy talked about this postgame, going to be a learning experience for him in terms of how he handles, when you run out of gas there, when you start to lose your legs underneath you late in outings, how you handle it, how you adjust, how you get through that last little bit. They were trying to get him through that inning. He really was just 1 pitch away. Just being able to make 1 pitch, get a ground ball, get a double play. He could have been out of that inning, but just couldn't quite find the zone, was missing by just a little bit, and it ended up costing the team the game here. But the Brewers offense couldn't really get much going. They finally got to Crochet a little bit in the 7th, and then they went to the bullpen and they shut things down from there for Boston. So ends up being a 3-2 loss, a tough one. Only the 3rd loss of the year for the Brewers, only the 3rd win of the year for the Boston Red Sox, but a chance for the rubber match here today to take the series and continue the series winning streak that the Brewers have had. But before we get to today's game here, I do want to get to some injury notes that we have had come out as well, because these are important players that the Brewers are going to be hoping to get back fairly soon here. Jackson Chourio, chief among them, lost him right before opening day got started. Jackson Chourio is going to get some follow-up imaging on Thursday here, so coming up tomorrow, on his hand to see how it's progressing, see if the fracture is getting better. They're still projecting a mid to late April return, so the initial timeline was 2 to 4 weeks. So provided everything goes well with this imaging, we could see him get back to swinging here, get back to baseball activities, swinging the bat and being able to do all the things that he needs to do and getting back into game action here. So still hoping to have Chourio by the end of the month, but the imaging is going to be tomorrow. Also, Andrew Vaughn is going to get follow-up imaging tomorrow and has a follow-up appointment with his surgeon who did the hamate bone surgery. And from there, they are hoping, provided that the follow-up goes well, Andrew Vaughn can get clearance to progress to the next step in his recovery. Remember, the initial timeline for him was 4 to 6 weeks for Andrew Vaughn following that hamate surgery, and he went on the IL basically the game after Churio. So you're still kind of looking at your early May kind of return. But still, that is when we're going to get more information on Andrew Vaughn. He'll have his follow-up tomorrow. So in all likelihood on Friday, when the Brewers do return home for their next homestand, we'll get a chance to get an update from Pat Murphy, from the players, on what their follow-up appointments told them. Also, Rob Zastryzny, he was out on rehab assignment, thought he was going to be coming back to the bullpen fairly soon. He was returned from his rehab assignment with a new injury. Rob Z was diagnosed with an intercostal strain, so that is going to delay his return to the Brewers bullpen, but not by too much. They're projecting a late April, early May return for Rob Z, but still a couple more weeks that he's going to be out, so he's just going to have to manage the intercostal and then get back out on rehab assignment and show that he can be healthy again, and have that take a little bit of time as well. But an intercostal strain for Rob Zastryzny. And also, this may not necessarily be a big injury issue here, but just kind of something worth noting, as the Brewers went with their right-handed heavy lineup against Garrett Crochet on Tuesday. Kurt Hogue of the Journal-Sentinel reporting that Bryce Terang has been dealing with an ankle-foot issue over the past week or so. It's just kind of been bugging him a little bit. He's been playing through it. He's been playing incredibly well through it, but he gets the day off on Tuesday here to hopefully just kind of let that rest up and start feeling a little bit better, especially during the cold weather that they had out there in Boston. So Bryce Terang did not play on Tuesday. And again, seems pretty minor. I don't think this is something that's going to require an IL stint, but they got the chance to give him a day there, so they took it, and hopefully that'll just kind of help him rest up and feel better going forward, because then you got Wednesday here, then it's another off day on Thursday before you're back at it on Friday. Who knows? Maybe they'll keep him out of the lineup on Wednesday here and give him 3 full days of rest to let that foot or ankle, whatever it is that's bugging him, fully heal up a little bit more and get closer to 100%. But those are the injury notes that we had coming out from the Brewers here on Tuesday. So it seems like some guys here are trending in the positive direction. Quinn Priester is still out in Arizona, continuing his live BP, his live throwing progression, as he's trying to get back to the starting rotation as well. All right, now let's go on the farm and take a look down here, because Blake Burke is absolutely dominating. And I've been high on Blake Burke. I've had some Blake Burke prospect stock for a while here. I've been holding on to it. I've been a big believer in it, even though some of the other prospect people out there have not been as big of believers in Blake Burke. I have been, and sure enough, it is paying off. In 4 games for AA Biloxi, Blake Burke has 4 home runs. He continued in the home opener for the Shuckers down in Biloxi. He gets one in the first inning, Oppo Taco even, and man, Blake Burke, he has just been so good. The power is incredible. I mean, he is a big dude. The dude can mash. I mean, incredible raw power, but he also generally hits for a pretty high, he hit for pretty high average last year. He's got some speed as well, kind of sneaky for a big guy. So for Burke, he's got a 1257 OPS so far as I'm looking at this for the season. Now, granted, only a couple of games in. It's only been 4 games, so some of these OPS numbers are going to be a little wonky. But still, Blake Burke can rake. I mean, he can seriously hit. He can hit for power, and I think he can hit for a pretty solid average as well. So I'm very excited for Blake Burke. I think fans should be as well. When we talk about the future of this infield here for the Milwaukee Brewers, we talk about the future of first base potentially. Blake Burke could very well be that guy. The Brewers have not had kind of a lockdown, long-term first base answer really since Prince Fielder. I mean, you look at Andrew Vaughn now, he's been the guy, but prior to that, it was Rhys Hoskins, who was the guy. I mean, I mean, then you keep on going back. You had the Eric Thames, the Jesus Aguilars, and like they had some really good runs with these first basemen, but no one that really stuck. No one that was really able to have a multi-year run with the Brewers as the starting first baseman. You get some, career years, some really good years. I mean, Rowdy Tellez gave you a good year and a half. He gave you some good memories. Same with Daniel Vogelbach, gave you a good run, but none of those guys were really long-term solutions at the position. Blake Burke could very well be that guy. It's really a first base only profile for him. So, I mean, when you look at the Brock Wilkins and the other infielders that the Brewers have, they have some versatility across the infield. But Blake Burke, it is only first base really for him, but he has been really good with the bat. It puts a lot of pressure on the bat, but so far the bat has answered. And he is continuing to play really well and crushing Double-A pitching. So I'm very excited for Burke and what he's going to be able to bring to this team in the future. I don't think he's going to be up this year, despite how well he's been mashing. Because, again, even though he's been hurt, you got Andrew Vaughn still. And Vaughn could be here for some length of time. Just looking at his team control, I mean, Vaughn not only has this year, but he also has next year under team control as well. But, again, that could change because we have seen Brewers hitters, or especially Brewers first basemen, have a really good year one year, and then they stink the next, and then the Brewers move on. I'm not saying they're going to do that with Andrew Vaughn. We've only seen him for one game so far this season. But still, with his price tag really getting higher as well. I mean, he's earning more than $7.5 million this season. And if he continues to have a great year, I mean, that money's going to keep on going up. I think even regardless, that money's going to be going up, whether it's a good year or a bad year. But is Vaughn going to be that long-term answer, or could it be Blake Burke? We saw the Brewers move off of Caleb Durbin. Thought he could be a solid answer at third base for the time being. No, they moved him out for some of the young prospects they had coming up. Who's to say that couldn't happen with Andrew Vaughn at some point in the future? But the real point that I want to just bring up is that Blake Burke is absolutely crushing Double-A. He is looking fantastic, and again, that's a league that is not friendly to hitters. It is hard to hit home runs in the Southern League with the way the wind blows, with the way a lot of those ballparks are set up, and just the atmosphere that they're in. It is very tough to hit in that league, but Blake Burke is making it look easy right now. So you love to see that down on the farm. And his prospect stock is continuing to go up. Speaking of prospects and their stocks going up, Shane Drowan's prospect stock is going up. And finally, he'll be starting to shed that prospect status, as Shane Drowan will be making his MLB debut today as the Brewers starter in the rubber match against the Boston Red Sox. His old organization, the team that did not call him up to the major leagues, they traded him to the Brewers, and now he gets to make his MLB debut against his old club, his old organization. You couldn't ask for a more poetic moment than that for him. He got called up the other day with Jared Koenig getting put on the IL. Haven't seen him get into a game out of the bullpen, and that's because the Brewers were planning to have him here for Wednesday for Game 3 of this series. The reason why it's not Chad Patrick in this game is that Chad Patrick had the doubleheader that the Brewers played in on Saturday. So originally he was scheduled for Friday for that series, and then he gets moved to Saturday, so now it's one less day of rest. So going from Saturday to Wednesday on a day game, it's like, they want to give him a little bit more time. So that is why it's going to be Shane Drowan here for the Milwaukee Brewers, making his MLB debut. Could not be more excited for the kid. It's such an incredible moment for him and his career. It's been a long time coming for Drowan. A lot of injuries that he's dealt with. So for him to be able to make this debut, an incredible moment, a lifetime of work has gotten him to this point. So keep that in mind for these guys. I mean, making their MLB debut. It is such a special moment in their lives, in their careers, that they're going to remember forever. So very, very excited for Shane Drowan and the start that he's going to hopefully provide here and put himself maybe in that rotation picture. I mean, if you have a really good start here, maybe he ends up sticking around, even when some other guys come back from the injured list. So something to keep an eye on, but very excited for Shane Drowan to get the start here today. So when he does make his start, we'll talk about it tomorrow, as we always do on Brewers Daily. So be sure to subscribe, get notified every single time a new episode drops. Follow me on Twitter at dgasper24, and also, be sure to follow the podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere on that, so be sure to follow us there if you prefer Spotify or Apple Podcasts as well. Plenty of different places that you can get Brewers Daily. And follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Appreciate you watching, appreciate you enjoying, and we'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Brewers Daily.